This podcast is highly sponsored by Victories. Victories is the first mental health product line with affordable products you can use whenever you need something to lean on for emotional or mental support. Currently, we have coloring books of all ages and affirmation mugs. There are some new products coming up, so you need to make sure that you check out Victories on Instagram and Facebook so that you don't miss out on the updates. And yes, listener donations are also welcome. You can drop your donation on 0770-338-440. The number is registered in the names of Navu Network. If you're not in Uganda, remember to add the country code +256 770 338 440. Hey, welcome to #WinDoveGuzichiwanuka. This is the #1 African millennial podcast that sits at the intersection of mental health, self-discovery, and personal growth. If you're new here, welcome to your new virtual home. Be sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening in so that you don't miss out on any of the future episodes. And if you're a returning listener, thank you so much for being the heartbeat of the show. Now, if you've not listened to part 1 of mental health advocacy and the role of faith in healing, this is the time for you to unplug because you will miss out on the full breadth of Zahra Njoki. But if you are here for part 1, welcome. Join me in this conversation, the second part of the conversation with Zahra Njoki. I don't have to do so many introductions. That's why I'm asking those who didn't listen to part 1 to go right now. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, Zahra.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Alhamdulillah. How are you?
I am good. Alhamdulillah.
Well. You said it very well. I love that. You said it very, very well.
Thank you. So we ended our previous conversation on how we are very uncomfortable with the idea of self-accountability.
Yeah. I mean, who wants to look at themselves, in the mirror and say, you ain't ish, right?
No one.
I know, I wasn't ready when I started it. Yeah, that was a crazy roller coaster.
With you in the mental health advocacy, let us start with the things that you might have seen that you couldn't believe, the misconceptions and misguided advice.
First of all, I'm talking from a point of experience.
Yeah.
That's why I started the whole advocacy journey. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I was told that, you've been possessed, Like, for example, I used to work in a corporate setting. I remember I had interviewed a young lady.
Yeah.
And at first, I don't think I saw the signs, but if I'm thinking about it, I really did see the signs, but I didn't put them, in mind. So later on, she started displaying certain behaviors. And when I was having a chat with the then HR, I said, listen, she's not okay and she needs help. She needs an intervention. If the company can take her for a counseling session, that would be awesome to kind of understand where she's coming from or what is it that she's struggling with. Mm. And then HR, who was a man, may he rest in peace, he said, no, you just need to take her to the church. They need to pray for her. And I was like, what? And that really reminded me of the times where I was struggling and no one could help me because that was, what was going on in their minds. I am a huge believer of God and I believe God creates something and a solution. So what is that solution for that problem, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't making sense. And actually, that was one of the reasons that I couldn't, stomach working there, because I don't think it was an environment that really supported the rights, because I think mental health is a human right. It's definitely a human right. Mm-hmm. You cannot function if you're not okay. And I think people mistake it for maybe people who are struggling with depression, bipolar, and other mental issues, but it's really well rounded. Even someone who's not even struggling with these conditions could lose it one day, could wake up and just lose it, right?
Yeah, right.
People just taking it lightly, like, oh no, it's just in your head. It's all in your head. But it's because it's in my head. That's why I'm struggling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted something to let it out. I want to understand. I'm not understanding. If I could, I would be okay. The sad thing is we don't want to educate ourselves on that.
We do not want.
We don't. We don't.
I always find it baffling how the internet has free resources and information, and someone keeps writing stuff about mental health. You're like, so I usually find myself in this mode of, wait, maybe it is now a paid version to search about mental health. So I go and search, and I'm like, they couldn't check this.
Like Google is there, honey, It's crazy out here because I would hear people. So when I was starting, I would get a lot of advice, Yeah. And I would ask this person, do you have any background in psychology, even in medical, do you have any background in that? And you would see that they have no idea what they're talking about, but someone would give you advice based on what they feel or what they were told. And that comes from a lot of shame. It's a lot of shame coming in the society. It's been there for the longest time.
Yeah.
And the notion of if you are struggling mentally, I know for a fact, for the first time, I didn't want to say it out loud because of fear of being told I am crazy. I've gone crazy. Yes, because that was it. I remember a girl who I was very close to, she ranted and she said, yeah, that's why you're crazy. I was like, what? And I knew then that there are certain people and certain spaces I didn't want to associate myself with. It's like someone with HIV or someone with diabetes, someone with malaria, Why would you shame someone for something that they have no control?
Do you know what? When you mentioned HIV and I giggled, I remembered I was in Eastern Uganda and we were buying jackfruit by the roadside with two friends. So when they were getting our jackfruit ready and for packing, this guy came out of, I think he's he's a regular customer with them. He picked a piece and started eating. So I complained to these guys who were getting the stuff ready. I was like, hey, well, you're letting someone touch our stuff. We're going to eat this. So this guy went off. Like, he turned the shame into, I don't know. I wasn't even talking to him. And he went as far as saying, look at you even have HIV. I'm like,
wow,
you guy.
Wow. Like having HIV is the worst thing. Oh my God.
It's not even, when did you diagnose me?
When? Like, how do you even know?
Is that a thing? You that's something to abuse someone? Okay, let's assume you're trying to abuse me or shame me. That's a thing?
Man.
Because I've been talking about how it's baffling how mental health stigma is still deep within us. Because I went to a school to have a mini engagement with some teenagers. And this is in preparation for teenagers something that I'm bringing out. So I noticed that they didn't want the title of that book to have mental health on it. And I was stunned because I was carrying around this idea that the younger generation is the one that is going to be putting a name to this without shame. So I was like, wait, this is still something, a weight that we are still walking around with. Yep. Because I thought, the Gen Zs are ready. They're going to take us through this. And no one is going to stop them. And they're all like, can you change the name? I don't want to open my book and someone says mental.
Wow.
I was like, no way.
And you would think that we have created that safe space already, right?
Right.
Oh my God. So I met a lady and we were talking and we ended up talking about mental health. And I told her, I wrote this book. This is what it's for, da 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 da. And she said, oh my God, why don't you market it? And then I remember the first time I really put it out there. I didn't want to put it out there. I used my resources, my experience and all that to create a book for my bestie who was going through what she was going through. And I recognized that I couldn't be there the way she needed me to be there. So I said, let me create this book. And then one thing led to another. The book was out there, right?
Yeah.
But then I remember I didn't want to market it because of the same thing, the stigma that was around and still is around mental health. I just said, if someone wants this book, they will get it. I don't want to be in people's faces that, hey, mental health, trauma healing, do this, you need to get this. If you don't get this, I realize that it's a very personal journey. But at the same time, even I was afraid of that stigma,
Right.
Having this book that is so liberating, it's amazing. But I can't even put it out there because of that. It got to a point where I really want to give it out for free, but I don't know who's going to want it for free because the stigma is there.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's really crazy. And I won't lie that it's not affecting me. I mean, of course, it can affect you. Does it affect you?
Does it affect me? I find it baffling. Like I mentioned earlier, that are you kidding? Like the way how I'm yet to celebrate the 5 years of the podcast. Sometimes I ask myself, is it even worth it? But then I have to factor in the people that send the messages like, hey, I've been offline for this couple of months, and while I got myself ready to return, I made sure that I check out your podcast. It's really life-giving. And you're like, okay, I will do it for this one person. And then someone else comes in and like, okay, I'll do it for the 2, I'll do it for the 5, I'll do it for the 10, Like I saw someone who was trying so much to fight the idea or magnitude of mental health, talking about things like, there's no such thing as mental health. And then somewhere, was it last year, I was invited for a panel discussion as a moderator, mental health in India. And then I posted the pictures and the artwork, and this guy was like, so those mental health professionals, what do they do? You see the energy of someone who is, it's like they want to attack, they want to fight, they want to show that they're smart and things like that. So you're like, I don't have energy for that. And then
I know.
And then a couple of days go by and this person is posting about how they struggle with insomnia. I'm like, bro, do you know? Do you need me to tell you?
Can I break it for you?
But you're like, no, I don't have energy. Like, no.
I know, girl. I know.
Most times,
and I think
what I've seen is like during COVID, when everyone was saying COVID is not real. It was until they had someone in their home when they were like, oh wait, you guys, I think COVID is real. Bro, you don't wait for it to first come to your home.
Yep. I'll say this. A very close family member, when you say that, it gave me an aha moment that a lot of that comes from projection and our own fear of this is how I feel, but I don't want it to be this, So I'm going to project and say that, no, this is not mental health issues. Right. I'm not struggling, because I don't want to face that. It took a close family member who always bashed me for how I was feeling, for the things I went through, for them to actually go through depression for years to come and tell me, I'm sorry. You know what? I am sorry. I didn't realize that this is how you've been feeling, Wow. I am struggling with this and I didn't understand that this was it, They told me that this is something that I have felt for years, but I guess I didn't want to accept it. It didn't make me happy, but it was like, oh wow, so now you understand how it feels like and what it means to really struggle. And then I realized that they didn't know how to accept it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to accept that part of their lives, part of themselves, that they were projecting that on me,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time that I was being told, why are you taking medications? You don't take medications. But people don't know that these medications helped me be in a state where I can learn these tools, I can gain these skills to manage what I am struggling with when I didn't have to take medications, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy how they'll just give you advice based on what they feel and not what they know. And most of the times feelings are feelings,
They give you advice based on what they feel instead of what they know.
Because I feel like if you know something, you put effort into understanding and knowing, because that is knowing, you understand, you take time to research, to go find out, what is this? And then come back and say, okay, since I know this, I'm going to talk or converse based on my conclusion. But I find that most people is based on how they feel about the situation, because you'll find someone say, oh, no, I had an ex-girlfriend or I had an ex-boyfriend who was bipolar. Very crazy people.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, huh? What? I mean, even the Ruto saga, when Kenya was going through what we were going through, we still are. I saw comments where someone said, you know what? This is very bipolar behavior.
Ooh.
And I was like, girl, don't even go there, because this is a serious issue.
Right.
You can't just throw that around like that,
I've been fighting with the people who give advice without even trying to figure out if it's really tailored for the person that they're speaking to. They just find you're doing this. Zahra, you are a mental health advocate. And they're like, how about you do this? Instead of, hey, how are you going through this? How are you going through this mental health advocacy? Do you have any challenges? And then give advice based on the. You can't just give advice without knowing if there's a challenge or not.
Yep.
You've talked about the book that you had written specifically for your friend, Tabula Rasa.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is.
I wanted to ask you what turning point could have inspired you to do this, but you have kind of given us the brief background. But if there is anything else that we need to understand, let us explore it. Tabula Rasa, how does it become your turning point in life?
This was back a few years back, and me and my friend were going through things at the same time.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was equipped with the tools to kind of maneuver and understand and get out of the funk that I was in. But she didn't. She didn't have the skills. She didn't have the tools. She didn't know how to go about it. And what she was doing was leaning on me for that support.
Right.
And I was overwhelmed, girl. I couldn't, because I was like, I'm trying to show up for myself. And, when you love someone, you really want to be there and show up. And it was killing me that I couldn't show up for her the way she would have needed someone to show up for her. So I said, Mama, do you want to talk to someone? And she was like, no, I don't want to. It was very firm. No, like, I don't. I only want to talk to you. Yeah. And if I can't talk to you, that's okay. And I was like, no, this is a very bad space. I asked her why, and she didn't feel safe enough to open up to someone. And number two, it was quite expensive. Therapy is expensive. Yep. Let's be real.
It is.
It is very expensive. You can't even put food on your table, and you have to go see a professional. A session is like 3,000, 4,000, even 7,000. So I sat there with myself and I was like, okay, I have a background in this. I have years of experience with this.
Yeah.
And when I say years of experience with this, it is the battling with the mental health, struggle. It's actually the mental health struggles.
Yeah.
And I have been, seeing a psychiatrist who has been really, really helpful and equipping me for this and this and this and that. So I said, okay, what can I do? How can I do it? And then I mixed all that, my experiences, the medical background, my psychiatrist tricks and tools, everything. I just put them in there. And then I remember I would go to the office, and during my breaks, I would work on the book. And I've written and rewritten that book so many times, because there was a point where I was going through it and it was very, very intense, even for me who has already gone through that.
Yeah.
It was quite intense. So I asked myself, if someone's immediately opened this book and this is where they landed, they wouldn't want to continue, because it will break you down. And I'm not even kidding. It would break you down. Then I said, okay, how do I soothe someone's mind before they get to the hard parts?
Right.
So now I designed it in a way that when you start, you're kind of being prepared, you're being reassured. Your mind is being prepared for this. And then towards the end, it's kind of comforts you like a big hug, like it suits you. So for me to design it like that, it took a very long time. And when I finally finished, and I remember the first copies are actually gray and the pages are more, I like vintage feel. So I went for the vintage, cream color pages, which I don't like them anymore. I like the new version. So I printed 10 copies and I gave it to her. I said, hi mama, this is for you. I think you should. And it was such an emotional moment for us. Oh my God. And she would, that book was meant for me. You guys are just buying it now. That was meant for me. So for me, that was like the best thing I could ever give her to show my love and support. And then it works, right? It worked. Yeah. And I started giving it to people closer to me and people who are not closer to me. And the feedback was the same. Your book is shouting at me, your book is shouting. And now people are liking the book. Even people I don't know, people are having that book. Some people have started and they've gone like a whole year. They haven't finished the book. Yeah. They're like, I need to breathe,
I know.
And like I said, no one wants to be called out by themselves. And this book helps you call yourself out. Nobody else is calling you out. It's you and you alone. You and that book. So call yourself out. And it's hard. You find it very, very hard. Yeah. Oh, that was a whole thesis on that book.
So I saw it, a clean slate, because I know that's what it meant. At some point, I don't know what I was trying to create. And I think I had just gotten to know you. And the book came out. I was like, oh shit, I can't come up with the same name. Oh my God, that would look bad.
God, did you think about you as, because I was going to ask, you also thought about that?
No, I had thought about, because I was looking for a name. What does it mean to restart the journey and things like that? And I landed on this name. And I was like, okay, I think and then I was like, oh no. That would look bad.
Maybe it wouldn't.
Oh,
you should have just tried.
Like even now, I can't do it. Like what? I've seen some of the. I've seen the pictures of the pages inside of the book, and I can tell you for sure that there are some uncomfortable questions that someone has to look in the mirror with themselves and have to answer. Especially for the part where you're like, how is it something like, how would you be compassionate towards your dad? Something like that. Like, ooh.
And do you know that trick? I got it from a very good friend Jimmy. That was not from my psychiatrist. I mean, my psychiatrist asked me to be compassionate and to empathize. That was the word, empathize. But my friend Jimmy sort of helped me navigate that. And I remember this was about my mom, and I was having a hard time, kind of moving, to move forward from that. And he just said, you know what? How about you write down what you know about her before you were born. And I love that I learned so much about her, and it gave me a sense of compassion for her and empathize, because I would tell myself, if I was in her shoes, I don't know how I would have acted, right? I don't know what I would have done. So it gave me so much sense of compassion. And then I realized that this is a very important thing to include in the book, because not so many of us know anything about our parents. Because when I was talking to my dad and I said, oh my God, I'm getting to learn about you. And then he said, nobody asks me this. Ooh. And I said, our parents are just like us,
Yeah.
He literally said, because you would assume that your parents just come and say, hey, you know what? I went through this and that. But they also want to be asked, because they don't feel safe still to even talk about the things that they went through. And then I said, you know what? This needs to be included in the book.
Now that reminds me of, I think, a reel that you shared recently via Mental Mosaic. And it was something about how we have to give the grace to the parents that, yes, they may have harmed us, but do they have the tools? Did they have the tools to walk through whatever they had to walk through or do better? So
yes, because Nabu Mama, it's crazy, because you know how we started this conversation with no one wants to look at themselves in the mirror and call themselves out. That brings a lot of victim mentality. And let's be real, victim mentality is very comfortable. It's not uncomfortable. It's easier to blame someone else.
It's a safest place.
This is what I tell people. It's the safest place. It's easy to blame someone else for what I'm going through, right? Oh my God, I had to shower today. Yeah, my mom did this to me. My dad did this to me. But guess what? We are no longer those kids. We need to show up for ourselves, because to come to terms with, if they didn't show up the way you wanted them to show up 20 years ago and still now, what makes you think that they have the capability to show up now? You are responsible for your own path. You have to be honest. We have to be real about that. Yes, you went through what you went through, and this hard truth, the hard pill I had to swallow myself, I went through what I went through, but then what can I do for myself in this moment? I can be the parent that I never had, right? I can show up the way they didn't show up. And first, I needed to understand what was the problem. Because if I didn't understand what was the problem, I would still be in that victim mentality. It's you. You did this, you did that. That's why I'm this way. That's why I'm doing this. That's why. Because I'm not even exploring the problem, and I'm not exploring myself. Trust me.
Yeah.
It will do people so much good if they understood them. Once you understand yourself, you have compassion for yourself. It helps you have compassion for other people, because if you can love who you are, even in your darkest, you are able to love other people. It's as simple as that.
I do agree with you 100%.
Ooh, today you got me. I have so much energy. I'm rambling.
In our first conversations, we explored the different, I don't know, do I call them identities that you have morphed into? We went to Honey Badger and a couple of other things. And then somewhere we talked about the servant of Allah. Yes. But now I would like to understand how identifying as the servant of Allah has transformed your outlook to healing and mental wellness.
First of all, I'm so happy that you asked that. I'm really, really happy that you asked that.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, this is something that I never sat down and even had that discussion with myself, because I really love to sit alone and sort of go through the things that I'm going through and understand. And most of the things that I get to understand about myself is through other people, their feedback, you know, how they treat me, sometimes how I treat them rather. Sometimes it's not great, because you have to know, you know, to kind of understand and fix what needs to be fixed. But I will say this, being a servant of Allah means to be in total submission, right? To his will. You have to submit, you know, and it's a very broad topic for me. And when this topic comes up, I will go into religious mode, because I had to understand, why was I made? What was I made for? You know, what is my purpose here on this earth? And trying to understand that and accepting to submit, to be devoted, you know, to be obedient to his will. I will tell you for a fact that I have not taken a single medication for my mental health, struggles ever since I haven't. And it's because of a routine, and it's because I needed to understand that I am a spiritual being having a bodily experience. And this is what they teach you when you start therapy. Part of getting better is taming that ego. Ego is indeed the enemy, right? Part of healing is taming that ego. Now, with embracing Islam, everything that you do, every second, every millisecond of your existence is based on submitting, and that requires for you to tame that ego intentionally. You have to. Is understanding that you are also part animal, right? You have that bestial nature, and you cannot let your body or that bestial nature control who you are. And that's why they will tell you, you know, your mind kind of shapes your life. And it's very true. It's the mindset. The mindset needs to change. So for me, getting into this new version of myself, I won't lie, even helps me become more feminine. It helps me. Yes. Because when I started, I was wondering, I was like, who is this? I don't understand. I don't even know who I am anymore. You know? Yeah, like, who are you? And I remember I went through a whole phase of, I don't know who I am. I have no idea. And it was frustrating that I didn't know. And I lost a part of who I was. And I remember wanting to go back to who I was, even those character traits, bringing them back. And every time I would feel cringe. I'd be like, what? This doesn't feel great. And then all I had to do was, you know what? Accept, submit to what you are right now, who you are right now. And I think we live in a society that shuts who we are. If you are a very compassionate person, then you are a pushover. Or if you are this, then, you know, there's always something, you know, negative.
Yeah, the negatives. Like, you see, everyone is calling out simps and things like that. You are simping and things like that. I like the fact that you brought out the bit of submission. And you have reminded me that I think 2 years ago, or I don't know when, like, I wanted to write about submission, because I realized that it has different layers that we are fighting. That's how atheism is coming in. We are so desperate for autonomy that does not include any other person in it.
Yes.
Because I have to pray to God? Why? You know? Atheism is there. I have to ask my husband to leave the house? Why? Submission. I felt like there is so much autonomy that we are hungry for right now that it hinders us from even feeling like there is someone I can answer to.
Yes.
We do not like that, I think.
We don't at all. And may God forgive me because I was once there, you know? And I'll tell you, for me, my experience has been, it's a joy. It's a joy answering to Him. It's a joy going to Him when every little thing, I'm like a child, you know? I'm just running to Him because we are human beings.
Right.
We are always submitting to something. You have to know what you're submitting to. I mean, I see people submit to different things, you know?
Yeah.
Like what do you run to when you're happy? And what do you run to when you are crumbling? You know, that's really a serious question we need to ask ourselves.
Do you know Asha?
Yeah.
Asha, the Nigerian singer?
No.
Ooh, there is a song of hers that I love. Where do you go when you're by yourself?
Wow.
Who comes along when you cry for help? Ah!
You know?
Are these guys ready for the conversation?
I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
Because I will tell you, I was raised like a boy, you know?
Thank you so much.
I swear.
Nice to meet you.
Oh my God. I was raised like a boy to survive. I'm telling you. Oh, I have stories for days, but not today. Maybe our next session. I'm really hoping. Am I in the next session? I hope I wasn't boring.
I have a feeling at this point, the listener is like, I just want this too.
Yo, I want to be there. You know, when can we have this?
Let us first get done with this.
Yeah, you know, I was raised in a certain way, and that made me like preparing me for the world. And the world is very patriarchal, so I had to prepare to fight. You know, to fight men, you know, hungry men and boys. And that kind of made me lose touch with who I am. And that is being a woman, a very beautiful woman with submission. And this is something I have noticed even lately with how I carry myself, how I talk, how I show up for people that I don't even know, how I walk. Let me tell you, you remember when I was telling you just right now, when I was telling you that I didn't know who I was and this was a new person?
Yeah.
Who was this? Girl, this was feminine Zahra. This was Zahra who was allowing herself to be a woman, you know? Like, being a woman is so beautiful. Like, I don't want to be anything than that, you know? I don't want to fight men for sports. I want to use my magic as a woman, my wisdom, you know, my nurturing side, being better, you know, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You feel grounded in a sense. Because if we are spiritual beings, then we need to nourish ourselves outside of just our bodies. We nourish our bodies. We don't nourish our spirituality. You are first a soul, a spiritual being, and a soul is an electromagnetic field. How do you nurture that electromagnetic field? It's a lot that goes in there. We forget that is part of who we are. It's a huge part of who we are.
I'm just immersed in
Bless
the conversation. I'm just immersed in the conversation. I've noticed that I feel like I think this year I've felt like I've been in autopilot and just surviving every other day that comes by. Like, oh, what's happening? What do we solve? But and I've noticed that I've taken long without taking some reflective time. But I noticed some years ago that I think one of the things that is keeping us in a state of anxiety is the fact that we want to act like we are in control of everything around us. That I can do this, then my day has to go like this. So, okay, what happened? Why didn't it? That state. Just a mere ability to let go and let someone take over that and just taking the day as it comes. I think we're lacking in that. And that still comes with the autonomy that I am a hero. I can do everything myself. I can do this. I can do that. I don't know about you, but I'm the kind of person who finds myself uncomfortable when someone asks things like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Bro, I don't know. Me
too. Like I could not be here tomorrow.
When the year the podcast started, it was not in my plans.
Yeah.
When last year started, it was not in my plans to come up with a product line. It was not in my plans to come up with a mental health. Like, I want to take each day as it comes. Like, okay, I did this yesterday. What can be done today? Okay, yesterday failed. What is going to happen? The ego that you also spoke about, like, everything is in there. When you learn to let go, life is easier, man.
Very, very. I needed to know that. When I finally learned. Oh my God. Girl, when I finally learned that, I was like, oh my God, I don't have to control this. I don't have to. Like, thank you, Lord. Like, this is way easier. Oh, it comes with its beauty, you know, knowing that you just have to trust and believe that he got you, because he does, you know. He brought you into existence. Do you think feeding you is going to be a problem for him? You know, do you think you asking for what you want is going to be a problem for him? Sometimes we want things then, but are they the right things for us? Are they good for us? Are these things good for us? Right? We have to let go and let God.
Let go and let God. That's right. Very universal, whether you're a Buddhist, Anglican, Catholic, let go and let God.
Let God. Kabisa. I mean, I'm even trying to grow my hair now because I don't want to cut it anymore. Like, I'm enjoying everything that comes with being who I am.
Yeah.
You know? My God, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I remember I used to have body image issues. And because it was either because I lost a lot of weight and it didn't sit well with me. And I would wear baggy clothes just to sort of hide that part of myself. This was before I started covering up. Now that I'm covering up is way easier for me. But before, you know, I used to fluctuate. I would either grow very big and then within a few, I would just, you know, go back to being skinny. And I was like, I'm trying so hard to gain weight. I'm trying so hard to do this, to do that. And I just say, you know what? Let me just allow. If my body wants to behave like this, let it behave. I am okay with, you know, like, do your thing, girl. I'm here to support you. As long as, as long as I'm treating it right, I'm good. I'm not going to worry anymore because then I started enjoying when I gained. I would enjoy it to the fullest. When I lost weight, I would also enjoy it. You know, it comes and goes. Hey, I'm a woman, right? And I know this is also part of the things that women we struggle with most of the time. Like, oh my God, look at me.
The beauty standards are crazy.
Oh my God.
The beauty standards are crazy. I saw there is a lady, I don't know what she sells, I don't remember, but I think she has some beauty products, and she posted a picture of a lady who was at a certain outdoor event, and she was like, look at her thighs, they look ugly. You guys, I have products for you here and you're not buying them. I don't understand you. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God. The internet is the ghetto. It's like the jungle right now. What is that?
Like someone that you don't even know.
And it's a woman bringing down a woman.
And perhaps she is okay where she is. But you are projecting your insecurities and
yours. Thank you. Ooh,
everyone feels like everyone is supposed to be small. And then someone is small and then suddenly someone is telling them you are too bony for a woman. You're like, oh my goodness.
It's the ghetto. It's the ghetto. And we need to stop because it's us women doing that. It's us. We need to stop. We need to stop. I love that you said projection because I think when we are unhappy with the things that, where we are or what we have, we tend to project a lot of that onto other people. It's like I read somewhere, if you verbalize something that you don't like very, very strongly with zero compassion, and you see something in someone that, it asks you like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel, then you probably have your own insecurities about that similar thing. You're not just allowing yourself.
I actually had a confession. I had a confession on the podcast in possibly 2022. Where I was like, there is this lady, she's Nigerian, and I actually confessed to her as well. She made a beautiful attire. She's quite a seamstress. So I was like, this is so beautiful. And then part of me was like, yeah, but she doesn't look good. And I kept going back to the picture. This is beautiful, but she doesn't look good. And I realized that what was under the she doesn't look good was how uncomfortable I am with my big bosom. And she has a big bosom as well. Because in my mind, I feel like I would look better if my bosom was smaller.
Wow.
And it took me a couple of tries, just like, she looks good, but no, she doesn't, And I was like, wait. So imagine there are people who are just living out loud on social media. Like they don't process the thought that whatever they're thinking about, they just say stuff. And it's very easy for someone to just post, that is beautiful, but you have big breasts.
Yeah.
But I went back and forth. I was like, why until I was like, wait, she and I have big bosoms. And I am uncomfortable with that. So why am I uncomfortable with that if she is comfortable? So I was like, oops.
Girl, I love that. That's the self-awareness that we need, calling ourselves out, right? Trust me, the people going on with life thinking that they are perfect and they are the best. In fact, you other people are the ones that are the worst. You're bad to them. And this just reminded me right now that ever since embracing Islam, which is something that I practice, self-awareness brought me to God. And in a sense, going back to who you are because you forgot who you are or something somewhere was forgotten. So you need to reconnect with that part. And I used to say, at the end of the day, it's you against you. It's not you against the world. Yeah. It's not you against your mother. It's not you against that person you meet out there. So that mentality was kind of nurtured with being in a space of submission to God. That because God says at the end of the day, it's you and me. Yeah. So what does that mean? You are fighting yourself. This is a battle between you and you. If you think that you are not worthy of love, then you're always going to project that outside. You're always going to feel like people don't love you, If you don't think you're beautiful, you're always going to think that, they don't think I'm beautiful, But hey, try showing up yourself and saying, listen, this is who I am. I love it. Yep. See how people love it back. Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. What? Nabu, what?
I just love the conversation that we have. I just love it. I'm like, where has she been?
Yeah. I'm trying to behave because last time you were calling me out because I was asking you questions. So today I'm trying so hard. But today,
what question do you have?
Ask you one question.
Ask me.
Let me ask you. This is from my book.
Yikes.
So, are you ready? Are you ready, girl?
I don't know.
Should I just go?
Just ask me and we hear.
Okay. So, who have you hurt the most in this life?
Who have I hurt the most in this life? Who have I hurt the most? Who have I? Yo.
Yo.
Who have I?
Too soon?
Have I thought about that?
Probably not.
Who have I hurt the most? I think I've been crying a lot more to even think that there are people that I might have hurt. Who have I hurt the most?
Yep. Something to think about.
Like, I'm really thinking because I've also gone out of my phase of people pleasing.
Yep. You know, most of the time we don't. Yeah.
Because I really have to think about that.
Yep.
Especially,
it's a good thing I asked.
In my era of people pleasing, like, because I was always bending outward to make it. Why? Who have I? I'm really looking for it.
Yeah, you better go. You better go and soul search today.
I'm going to. Oh, not today. Today is a busy day, my friend. Today is a busy day.
Is it? Maybe not today. Maybe not today.
But I really have to think about who have. I need to. I need to. Who have you had the most? Perhaps I could learn from you.
I have had so many people. And I would say the people I have had, because I have had myself in the process.
Oh,
and
that part. Ooh,
I have.
I was thinking about other people.
Yeah. No, even other people. But if I'm being honest, I have had myself. I have had myself. But if we're talking about other people, then I would say the people who have showed up for me, and I kept pushing them away because I was scared. I didn't think I deserved, their love, their presence.
Yeah.
Because growing up, it was not given to me, and it was sort of not only not given, but it was snatched away from me. So you sort of grow up into thinking that, you know what, at the end of the day, being alone is easier, right? Then here are people who genuinely celebrate you, genuinely love you, genuinely want to be there. And what are you going to do or say? You know what? I don't want you here. Simply because you are afraid, right?
Yeah.
Or even because I didn't think I was capable of giving what they were giving me back.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had it in me to give back, to give back that presence, that unconditional love and care. So it took me a while to realize that I genuinely had good people.
Yeah.
And it's not one person, it's not two people, but so that was a hard pill to swallow.
When you started giving your side of it, I was like, oh, okay. So it made, when you started with yourself, I was like, yo, I was nasty to myself. Pure nasty, to a point of, I was extremely ashamed. For a certain period, I was wondering, because there was a season that was in 2018, I think, when I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. Like, I would stand in the mirror, but I would make sure that I don't look at myself. I would always want to try to look over me, because I was so embarrassed when I realized that I was part and parcel of my own pain.
Yeah. Oh, girl.
I was wondering, I kept asking myself, what was happening? Why couldn't I see myself? Like, I was struggling to look at my reflection, but I couldn't. I was subconsciously, I think my eyes just made sure that I will not look at this person because I had them. And I noticed that that's the same thing that I have with other people, that when I'm angry with a person, I can't look them in the eyes. I don't want them to see my anger. But I went through a season of self-compassion, and I was like, okay, yeah, we did that, but tomorrow we can do better. But then on the other part of someone else, I realized that the first boyfriend that I had, I just disappeared.
I love that laughter.
I just disappeared on them because I didn't have the tools of having the conversation of, hey, you have changed religion and now I don't know what's happening. Yes. I don't think we can vibrate on the same frequency. And he was trying to also make me aware of how he feels like becoming a born again Christian has transformed his life. But in my head, I was like, yo, that is crazy to leave Catholicism. Are you crazy, man? But I was too young to even understand that. But I have grown into a person who is more embracing of other religions. Because when I was younger, it was so hard for me to have room for someone who isn't Catholic. Like, how? Why are you lost? Are you kidding? So I disappeared. This guy looked for me. I was like, no, oh no.
No, thank you.
Before we had the word ghosting, I was just there doing stuff.
Wow.
So I believe that's the one I've had the most. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Have you ever talked about it with him?
At some point I was like, I think I made a mistake. Let me go back. Right. And then I realized that no.
So no, thank you. No, thank you.
It's just, just let us walk different paths and let life be.
You mentioned looking at yourself in the mirror and you were looking over yourself. That is very interesting because, one of the tools that I use in my session, I do group sessions and individual sessions. Yeah. So I've had individual sessions where I would call them clients. I hate calling them clients because I feel like I want to connect with them, and client is like, I just want money.
Client sounds like legal work.
It's just my client. But right? So let me just say these individuals. So I've had several individuals who were very closed off and in a sense angry. They didn't want to show weakness, and you can tell during these sessions that they're really trying to act tough, and it comes off a bit standoff-ish, like I don't want to. And for me, I have to recognize that they're in pain and they probably don't know how to face themselves. So one of the things that I do is to sort of stand in front of the mirror and ask them to look directly in the eyes. Look at the person standing in front of you. Yeah. Don't look at me. Don't look the other way. Don't look over yourself. Look directly in the eyes. And you would see that this works. Some would start crying and they would feel shame. And I would ask, so how are you feeling right now? Oh, you don't know how much it helps. Just standing in the mirror and looking at yourself, you see your most vulnerable. Oh my God.
Before then it was easy. It was easy for me to just look at myself and like just go about the day. Oh, how do I look? And then until you have these tougher conversations and probably getting into deeper realizations of I'm a nasty person to myself. For a long time, I kept wondering what was happening? Why wasn't I seeing myself in the mirror? And I think I asked a psychologist this question because I was so confused. And this is years after it happened. So I just said this. I was like, why is it that I couldn't see myself? Like I was standing in front of the mirror, but I couldn't see myself. I tried so hard, but it was like, there was no reflection. Until I was like, wait, I was embarrassed. I was angry with myself to a point that I couldn't look at myself. I couldn't look at the person who has caused me so much pain. So
the person who has caused me so much pain.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I like how we are taking accountability and it feels beautiful, right? It feels nice.
Beautiful. It is.
Oh, I love it. I love it so. I love it.
Can we talk about the role of self-reflection in healing?
For me, I love to talk on a personal level.
Yeah.
I like to talk for other people. I think for me, it's been the most important aspect of my own healing journey.
Yeah.
Because when I started this, I had to understand that I've not only been terrible to myself, but I have been terrible to other people. And it's something that I even include in the book, like a log. So for a month, you kind of come back, note down what has happened. How did you react to it? And then at the end of the month, you plot like a graph and see how you're doing. And I realized that the way I spoke to people was not the best. And that reflected on how I felt at the end of the day. Because if this is how I'm speaking to people, this is probably how I'm speaking to myself.
Yeah.
The internal conversations. And they were not really nice, right? So having to understand that it was very important for me every day to sort of reflect on things, It made me understand who I am or who I was. It made me understand who I didn't want to be. It made me understand what I needed to do, like the necessary steps to take, how to go about it, and that it was okay to not take those steps. Even maybe today I'm not feeling the best. I don't need to show up the best. I don't, if I can show up and just, shower or eat, that is the best that I could do today. It is okay. Things were not getting done and I would get angry, why wasn't this done, da 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 da. And then I was like, hold on. This is how you're talking to yourself,
Right.
Oh, today I don't feel like doing this. I don't even have the capacity. I can't show up like this. And then I have to bash myself. It's not making things easier for me. Yeah. So I think it brings a sense of compassion. It also brings that sense of, where you are going, where you are from, where you're coming from, because it's a journey at the end of the day. You understand the problem better. You understand what is it that you're fighting against? What is it that needs change? What it is that actually needs improvement? Because some things you don't want to lose, Like I would say there's some qualities about myself that were very, very strong and I didn't love, but then I didn't want to lose those qualities. I just needed to make them better, to kind of tweak these qualities and help me in the long run, Yeah. How are they complementing me rather than creating this ugly version of myself? So I needed to help me complement me. Right. I don't know if I'm making sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense.
What is the role of self-reflection for you?
Like I said earlier, my confession, like I confessed earlier, that when I started having these conversations with myself, like, I don't know, so my healing started with digital storytelling, that I found a YouTube video of this lady. I don't know how I landed on her, but I think things just happened. And she popped up in my YouTube and I was listening to her story and I was like, I think our story isn't the same, but our pain seems similar. So I started listening to her story a lot and how she went over it. And I was using her as medication because at that time still I didn't know what mental health is. Like I could tell. That is why we're having these conversations. That even when you don't know the exact words to whatever it is, there is something in someone's story that you can, pick from. So for me, it was following this Lisa Nichols, and she shared that exercise. Now I've forgotten the prompts. There was you having to ask yourself why you love yourself, and outlining the 5 things. And I realized that wait, I have to love myself. And I had no answers to that. forgive myself. And I noticed that when I came to forgiving myself, I would cry, like real crying of having your eyes red. Like, I am so sorry. And I think that's the period when I was too spent to even have to look at my image. So self-reflection is, you have messed up. So how do you show up for yourself better?
Yep.
And like I mentioned earlier, I think in the previous conversation that we had, I noticed that I love better. That yes, these relationships that I've been in were a mess, but what are the chances that I was an equal mess to them? So I have boundaries right now, and I acknowledge it when I have hurt someone. It's easier for me. Hey, it's easier for me to even say sorry. Like, bro, it was hard then. Like, are you kidding? Just deal with it. But right now I know how to apologize and things like that. So yeah, it has given me the grace of being graceful with myself and equally being graceful with other people. But then the challenge that I'm noticing there is that I think I might, when I give people grace, they might, because some people just take things for granted. So that's what I mean, that season of, how do I balance?
Oh man. And sometimes you don't even know, you don't got it, right? You don't get it.
Because I'm like, am I entering people pleasing again? Like, I better not.
Now that's the worst place to be. I have had my fair share of people pleasing, and ew, you know, ugh. I'm thinking about it. Ugh,
yeah.
What? Like, what was I thinking? But you realize it's also a trauma response and a defense mechanism at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that we are flourishing and we are growing, and I pray that we all do the same thing, because the life becomes easier and better for everyone if we take accountability for our own selves.
Yeah,
it's way easier, and it's more loving, it's more compassionate. There's so much mercy we have for each other. You know, I didn't realize our conversation was going to go. How long have we? Is it 2 hours or
no?
more?
Right? It's right now. It's an hour and 17 minutes. But as we close off, how do you manage to show up for yourself while showing up for others? How do you create a balance? Do you ever remember yourself?
First of all, so before. See, now I'm transitioning. I have transitioned, if I may say.
Yeah.
I'm in a very different space. So before I came first, actually before people came first, the pleasure of people came first. And then I transitioned to me coming first, you know, that I was only going to give if I had enough to give.
Right.
If I didn't have enough to give, I was not going to go out of my way to give, which is still the same, because how do I give when I have nothing to give?
How
right?
do you give from an empty cup?
Yeah, I'm creating a negative, and you are gaining from it. I'm the one losing at the end of the day, and it's not from a very bad space, but for me, I try to create healthy boundaries, and it's one of the things I teach. One of the workshops that I have, and it's like its own topic: boundary setting, healthy boundary setting. It's understanding, it's being emotionally liberated, but how do I get to that space of being emotionally liberated? It's understanding that everyone has a role to play. I have my own role to play. What am I doing? What parts am I playing? Am I showing up for myself? Am I losing a part of myself? Am I allowing myself to neglect myself? Because at the end of the day, I have to come first, right?
Right.
I remember my auntie. I don't know if we talked about this before in the last session, because my auntie, and this always, you know, it always runs in my mind. She always told us that this is what she said, and I think she's a really wonderful mom. she commands, a room, when her energy is just like that. It's very strong, but at the same time, she's very nurturing and very motherly. So this is what she said. She said to her, God comes first. The pleasure of God comes first. And then she comes second in the list. And then she said, what does that mean? And I had to understand it now that I'm in that space is when I'm understanding, and that's how I'm showing up for myself and other people. She said, if God comes first in her life, then she does things from a place of God's pleasure. And God is kind, God is loving. God wants us to be compassionate towards each other, but at the same time to yourself first. You need to love yourself, show up for yourself, because God is perfect. And if God is perfect and he has created you, then you are wonderfully made. So what do you need to do? You need to take care of that gift that he has given you. So now if you're taking care of that gift, which is you, which is nourishing it, pouring in that cup, giving yourself all the positivity, the love, name it, then you are in a better space to show up as a mother, as a friend, as a wife, as a daughter, if you are in that space, then you are in a better space to show up better for other people and to other people. And it is okay if you cannot show up in that moment. That means you are choosing yourself, and it's great, I think that is how I feel personally.
It's beautiful. What is your go-to self-care?
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, right now, I may have had a lot of self-care, man. I've had a lot of routines. Oh my God. It's been months, and I would say going, there's a verse in the Quran that says that God, he tells us to, and this is something I tell everyone, he tells us to connect with nature and ask ourselves questions, because he created a, yes.
Please show me where that is. It's so beautiful.
Yes. It's called Surah Al-Mulk.
You're going to just send that.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And you see, and he tells us so many times to connect with nature, to look at the skies, right? The trees, the plants, because he created us as intellectual creatures, right?
Yeah.
But then you see, and sorry, no, I didn't mean to use but, because and when it comes to mental health, so many mental health experts tell you to connect with what? With nature. And for me, I love that because it shows us that we are one with nature. So one self-care that for me is, I can never skip this when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling happy, in whatever mood I'm in. I want to listen to the trees, sway. I want the wind to touch my skin. I love listening to the rattling of the leaves.
Yeah. And
I love to walk barefoot and feel the earth, And something I love to do is go to the forest, Karura forest, and sleep. Like, I want to take
sleep
a nap.
in the forest.
Yes. I have my bag, and there's this duvet that I have. It's very light, and it's very big. And this small pillow I carry. So I stuff it in there in my bag. And because I would be like, I feel like taking a nap,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, let's go to the forest and take a nap,
There are no snakes.
No. So Karura Forest has a place where it's like a picnic area, but not so many people.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but not so many people are there, and it's all trees and butterflies and
because when you mentioned forest, I was thinking Mavira Forest.
And girl, after that, I am rejuvenated.
Yeah.
It works like magic, literal magic. So that is my go-to. What is yours? I'm curious.
I find nature very grounding, although I've taken long without having that experience. But even when I say I've taken long, I am also the kind of person who really enjoys when I draw my curtains in the morning. That I had a period where I hated waking up. That every moment my eyes opened, I would be like, why am I still alive?
Girl.
But now I'm in a season of, I draw the curtains, I'm like, I'm alive. Look at the sun peering out. This is so beautiful. And I look at the reflection of the sun on the grass in the compound. I hear the birds chirping. I'm like, I am alive. Like,
hello, sister.
I am alive. I feel like nature is very grounding and we don't notice that. The beauty of how it just naturally flourishes. It's just like what we were talking about earlier, that to have to let go and let God, that trees are just going to grow. You'll still be okay. You know? So like, okay, so what are we going to do today? But myself, I like being like, you know what? Today I'm just going to be like, I'm not going to force knowledge in my head. I'm just going to live the day as it comes. Or I might just sleep. Watch movies. I've learned how to do some entertainment this year. Yay. But I'm more of a sleeper, really. Trying to figure out other things. What would you want to leave the listener? What would you want the listener to walk away with at the end of this conversation?
Oh, the pressure, man. The pressure. What would I want to leave the listener? I would say the best. I know this is about mental health.
Right.
And this is important. This has played a huge role in my life. And this is something I would really pray people really do, is let your spiritual self shine. Let it shine, nurture it, you know, find ways to be a better person, because we are stuck on who did us wrong, that we forget that we also do wrong towards other people and also ourselves. Let's nurture our spirituality, connect to that higher being, that higher power, because you didn't just exist,
right.
You know, you were placed here by something bigger. It's bigger than you, you know. Let's nurture our spiritualism, because it's the very core of who we are.
Yeah. If
you're not charging that electromagnetic field, something else will charge it. You have to be in control of what is charging that electromagnetic field. You know, it's really life-changing. And there's so much, and I want to say this, the world is so big for all of us. Like, can we celebrate each other, you know, without feeling threatened? Yeah. Without feeling like, oh, if I celebrate this person, then I don't think I'm going to be in a better space. You know, there's so much joy in finding happiness for other people. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. So much joy, you know. The world is big enough for all of us. And love yourself. You are the most important person in your life. Right. Love yourself. And loving yourself is not selfish. Loving yourself is being compassionate, you know? It's not selfish. It's being compassionate, having grace, you know, for existence. That some days it's bad and some days it's good. And it's okay to have those days. Yeah. Because we are meant to evolve. We are meant to embrace change. We are meant to, actually, change is the best thing that could ever happen to you. Embrace it. I know I find it hard most of the time, like embracing that change, like, oh my God, I'm living that and I'm doing this. And then you find yourself stuck and confused. I'll tell you, go for it. Embrace that change. As long as it's not hurting you, it's not hurting anyone else, go for it.
Embrace the change takes me to tabula rasa. Clean slate.
Ooh, yes.
Restart. Let us take this.
Ooh,
We have finally come to the end of the conversation.
Oh my God. Do you know how long we've been planning this? Oh, I'm so happy. I can't wait for it to come out.
It's gonna
and enjoy our conversations.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I feel like I want to have more of chats with you, like more of these chats.
We're here. We're alive. Inshallah. We're alive. We're going to have more of them.
Yeah, like can we one day just have tea and sip tea while having talks?
We can do it.
Yeah, I would love that.
We can do it.
I would love that. Oh,
we are alive. I believe in so many possibilities. As long as we have life, there's so much we can do.
I'm keeping you.
I'm keeping
just
you as well.
From that. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You didn't tell me what you had for breakfast in Uganda.
I did not have breakfast today. Last night,
why?
we were eating meat and celebrating nothing but just eating meat. So my body is tired.
Really?
I just took coffee just to keep me alive for the conversation. So my body is not yet ready to have food. Yeah. I just have to be slow on it. Just respect the body as well. Yeah.
Okay.
What did you have?
Okay. Oh, now I feel it like I stuffed myself. Well, I had an egg avocado sandwich with tea. Tea is like a must. Tea and a cupcake.
Ah.
Yeah, not so healthy, no? That's what my body wanted. It's not so healthy, but sue me for having a cupcake.
Who's going to sue you though? And who is going to win the case?
You say what?
Who is going to win the case when they sue you?
I am. Oh, there was a time in high school.
Yeah.
We used to love to eat. Oh my God. High school for us was like, who is coming with what and what are we eating?
Yeah.
And I remember literature class and my friends were they literally started stealing my stuff and they started eating while making fun of me when I was presenting. And I just couldn't go on, like 5 minutes in, and I was like, excuse me, they're eating my stuff. They're eating my stuff. So this moment just reminded me of that moment. Like, I don't play when it comes to that. I enjoy good meals. I enjoy good meals.
I do enjoy good meals as well.
Can you cook them?
I do. Oh, I love the kitchen.
I really need to come to Uganda, by the way. You are one person who made me want to come there. And yeah, I don't know. Nobody really prompted me to take that, like, hey, go to UG. Yeah. So I would love to come. Cook for me, girl.
I love to cook. All right, Zahra, let us close the conversation. I will catch you on the phone.
Thank you.
And probably prepare for another conversation.
Sure. I have to go prepare to pray myself.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Thank you. I really did enjoy our conversations, the first one and the second one. And I'm hoping for more. And you are doing a great job.
Thank you
creating
so much.
This platform for us.
Yeah.
You are. I feel you are a very patient person with me.
Yeah, it's a very good thing it's a very good thing you have added with me. Ooh.
With me. So thank you so much. Thank you. I am very terrible with messaging and texts, and you have been so great with me. Thank you for that. Like, at no point did you make me feel bad about myself.
What's the point?
So
I needed you more. What was the point? In my healing journey, I've learned how to be humble. Like, you know what? Just figure it out.
Yeah. And thank you. Like, it makes me even want to have these moments and conversations with you even more, because it's not a space where I'm judged for the things that I can't show up,
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, girl.
Thank you too. Thank you so much.
Okay, this was Hash Time.
Yeah.
With Nabu.
That's right. All right, Zahra. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mama.
Catch
Talk
you whenever
soon.
I can. So.
Okay.
Thank you for hanging out with us to the very end. If you love the conversation, this is the time for you to hit the subscribe button. Or if you've already hit the subscribe button, share it with your loved ones and even your enemies. Perhaps they will confess and do better by you. And if you would wish to connect with us, we are live on social media. We are at #WeNavGuzichwanka on Facebook and Instagram, plus YouTube. And on X, we are at HTNK Podcast. So if you wish to share your insights about what connected with you in this full conversation, that is for part 1 and part 2, do not forget to tag us, and we will be very happy to continue the conversation. For now, goodbye.